What is the most disgusting thing you've ever done? NSFW. When we were dissecting a pigeon in bio class a few years ago, I told my friend I'd give him $1 if he ate a piece of corn from inside the pigeon. And he actually did it. I have no idea how long the pigeon was dead for or how long it's been preserved. Assuming this was in the US, the bird was probably preserved in formalin or formaldehyde, which can produce sudden death upon ingestion. Your friend is lucky. I jumped into my father's car and I was thirsty as hell. And lucky for me, I found a half-full bottle of lemonade. So I quickly unscrewed the cork and took some big juicy gulps from it when I suddenly felt how it tasted. I quickly remove it from my lips and see several big lumps of mold in it. And somehow I didn't throw up or got sick. I'm really surprised this didn't turn out to be piss. I was on a Boy Scout campout and this kid kept hitting me with his bamboo stick, so I broke it in half and threw it away. He then decided to spit in my eye. So I proceeded to steal his bag of peanuts while he wasn't looking and filled the bag with my pee. I let it soak for a bit, then poured the pee out, and I let the bag dry in the sun for the rest of the day. The next morning I placed the bag back in his tent and watched him eat the whole bag. He periodically looked at the peanuts a little confused, but he ate the whole bag of like 30 plus of them. Peanuts. When I was 12, I was trying to impress my older brother's friends during Truth or Dare. One of them dared me to do something disgusting. I immediately walked over to my dog and licked her butthole. I still get tea for it to this day. Almost 8 years later. Must been a really dirty doggy butthole if you still get tea from it. TL. DR. Drank phlegm. About a week ago, I was going to a friend's house. I had filled a water bottle with soda, so I could drink it in the car. I took a sip and noticed something mushy in my mouth. I immediately opened my door to spit on the road. Upon arrival, I looked into the water bottle with a flashlight, with a terrible realization. Weeks before, my brother had been spitting into a water bottle because he was sick. These were full-on lodgies, thick and green. I almost threw up once I figured out what I had just consumed. Edit. The more you people tell me how gross it was, the more sick I feel. Oh god. I missed school today from being sick. Was it the phlegm? Did it infect me? I was in the army. Deployed to Iraq. This was around 2003 to 2004. So there weren't many normal toilets. Just porta potties. Anyways. It's sweltering hot. But I need to take a dump. I get in. Close the door. Set my flak vest and my M16 on the floor and settle in. Flies tend to stay in porta potties. Especially in the cooler parts like the reservoir. Anyways. I feel a tickle around my asshole. But what can you do? I drop the turd, and right after I do, the fly makes a mad dash up my butthole, Independence Day style. He never returned. Fell in a manure pond when I was 5. I don't remember it luckily. But apparently I had to go to the hospital because I started vomiting uncontrollably afterwards. Turns out I had ingested a fair amount of manure. It was tea. Literally. I accidentally drank a year-old. Open. Empty. Dew. I was in my uncle's basement. And set my dew down. The next sip I took was from a half-full one I left there the last time I was down there. I ran out the door and threw up on the lawn immediately after tasting the chunks of who knows what. Iced tea in a Pringles can and gave it to a buddy to win a bet. This was at middle school church camp. His first clue it wasn't delicious chips was the warmth of the can. Rookie mistake. I bet you don't meticulously recap and refrigerate your pee-filled beer bottles either. Up your game. I once ate a poo nugget from my son. He had a bit of chocolate before, and when he came to me offering me a bit, I thought it was chocolate. Apparently he went in his diaper and picked out a poo nugget. The good thing is that I now know how poo tastes like. Edit. It tastes like it smells but with a copper aftertaste. The good thing is that I now know how poo tastes like. Very glass half full pov. There. I drank 3 full chugs of chunky, expired milk for a dare. It was the hardest thing I have ever done in my life. As soon as I held it down for 3 seconds, which was the rule, I threw up longest I ever have in my life. Milk chunks and chocolate and whatever else I had eaten that day just sprayed all over the wall. It was not a fun day. Why even? Drunkenly pulled a girl's tampon out and flung it against the wall before sex. Have no idea what the aftermath was, but it couldn't have been pretty. Like a SIB blade. I was in a car accident and had to transport a bloody guy in the backseat of a car. After we left him at the hospital, I had to sit in the bloody back seat. Force fed my own vomit by an evil abusive aunt I was staying with. I was not keen on eating my vegetables as a kid, so I would sometimes vomit out. She grabbed a bucket so I would vomit in it, then she would make me eat out from the bucket. So when I ate it, I gagged some more and vomited more, but she wouldn't stop till I finished the entire thing clean. 5 vomited on the floor. I was made to lap it up like a dog. I was 10? Yeah. She made me do that so I would learn to eat my veg. What age were you when you killed her? This one happened to my sister. Not me. My mother had been baking something in the kitchen and my little sister, who was around 5 or 6 at the time, had been helping. My sister left to go to the bathroom, and shortly after she came back she held out a finger to my mother. "Poo poo," she said. But my mother said, "No honey. It's just chocolate. Lick it off." My sister's eyes got big and she made no move to lick it off. My mother insisted, "Just lick it off, dear. It's only chocolate." So my sister, obedient little girl that she was, slowly put her finger in her mouth and proceeded to suck it clean. I can't recall how, but it was later established that it was, in fact, poo. My mother made my sister lick her own poo off of her finger. I once masturbated with a whole lot of my husband's cum that we'd frozen and thawed out. I guess most people would find that disgusting. When I was 11, I was made to crawl into a septic tank to retrieve the corpse of a dead calf. As a child, in the summers I would visit my grandparents on their wheat farm for a week or so at a time. I found life out there a pleasant reprieve from living in the city. It had additional benefits like learning how to drive a tractor and learning to hunt. Also, there were severe detriments. Once, my grandparents' neighbor had their septic tank collapse. A short time thereafter, one of their calves fell into the septic tank and drowned. Being the smallest person available, I was lowered into the hole in the ground and down into the septic tank. Once there, I had to wrap a chain around the decomposing calf and then get out of the hole. So there I am, waist deep in tea, lowering my body so I can wrap the chain around the calf, which results in a condition where my face is mere millimeters from the tea covered rotting viscera of a dead baby cow. It was unpleasant. I just so happen to own a Waterpik dental flosser. For those who don't know, it is a thing that sprays water between your teeth in order to floss them. My friends and I wanted to have some fun, so we put the tip in our buttholes and emptied the tank of water by spraying it in. We then assumed our positions and sprayed the water out of our sphincters like a glorious ass whale. It was awesome. TL. DR. Water flossed butthole. When I had the flexibility, I used to bite off my big toenails. I still do. A little toe can be a bitch sometimes though. My ex had an electric razor that you could take the blade off of. One day my vibrator ran out of juice in the middle of a self-service session. In the heat of the moment, I decided to pick up said electric razor and finish myself off. Well, this little sucker ended up blowing my damn mind. So from that moment on, it was my go-to toy when I felt like getting my rocks off. He never knew about this little secret of mine, so he continued to use it to shave his face almost every day. I felt kind of bad, especially when I would walk by the bathroom and see him standing there with it. Ooh, what, he was an asshole, so it's okay. I cringed expecting the part where you got cut. I honestly would not mind if I had a girlfriend that used an electrical razor to flick the bean. When I was in college, I lived in the dorms without air conditioning. It would get incredibly hot and sweaty. I was also, this is important, very lazy. It was a small town, and there were precious few places to go out to eat. Mostly Subway, McDonald's, and a few convenience stores. Well, one day I was sitting at my desk. A pool of sweat had collected in my ass, so I felt like I needed to wipe. I was lazy, so I just grabbed a paper towel, wiped, balled it up, and set it aside. I didn't want to throw it in the trash because I might miss. Besides, I don't want that in my trash can. I'll flush it later. Under cover of darkness. A few minutes later I started to eat my delicious Subway sandwich. I believe it was a 12-inch meatball. Unfortunately, I got some sauce on my face, so I reached for the closest paper towel to wipe my mouth. That's f***ing gross, dude. Who the hell gets a meatball sub? One time I was at a park with my 6-month-old, enjoying a pretzel and mustard while he slept. About 5 minutes later I had to change his diaper. Well, we were in the middle of the park, so there were no bathrooms or anything, so cleaned him up and myself up the best I could with baby wipes. As I head back to the car I noticed some mustard on my wrist, so I lick it off. Definitely was not mustard. What grossed me out the most was the fact that it didn't gross me out at all. Our motherhood. I shit myself 3 times at the age of 15. In a row? My dad told me this story. Back in the 80s when the Chicago Bears were really good, some radio station was doing a promotion at a college campus cafeteria. Free playoff tickets for anyone who could do the most disgusting thing. A guy walked in and took a dump on the table. They were about to give him the tickets when another guy came in and ate it. The Bears lost that game. Buddy of mine and I are watching TV in these big armchairs with an end table in between, on which I had placed the Coke I was drinking. Without looking I grabbed my Coke and took a big drink. At first I wondered why the texture was off, and then I realized that no, this was not my Coke. It was the can my buddy was using to spit his tobacco juice in. I lost a beer pong game and had to drink a 14-year-old warm can of Bud Light. I have pics, if anyone is curious. I was with a girl for about 5 years. One night she was at my apartment when her period started. She didn't bring any pads or tampons with her, so I guess she balled up some toilet paper and or paper towel as a temporary fix for the night. Cut to later that evening. She's in the bathroom. I hear a flush, shortly followed by FCK, and then she calls me into the bathroom. A makeshift pad ended up clogging the toilet. My apartment was fairly new, and buying a plunger hadn't even occurred to me until that moment. She tried to flush again, but no luck. Now pink, bloody water is slowly but surely rising to a near dangerous level in the toilet bowl. I didn't have much of a choice, so I rolled up my sleeve, cupped my hand, and bayhand plunged the toilet just in time to spare my bathroom floor. She looked at me and said, "Now I definitely know that you love me." Not long after that she dumped me. Forever alone. I didn't shower for 12 days. Stationed in former Yugoslavia as a NATO peacekeeper after the Kosovo War in 1999. We initially had no hygiene facilities and were doing 18+ hour days. I have never smelled so bad. Not showering for 12 days is something I do in an average week. I once stuck the jelly knife in the peanut butter. I'd rather eat poop nuggets. I once spilt a bucket of diarrhea all over myself. I was transporting it from a blocked toilet at an orphanage in Ecuador to a drain 100 meters down the road. It was 3 AM. In the middle of a thunderstorm. Midway down the road, a pack of rabid dogs started following me. Nervous, I picked up my speed to a speed walk. All of a sudden I stepped in a pothole, tripped over, and the bucket of diarrhea fell all over me. I vomited. Killed a swan the other day. Did a shitty on it. Yeah. We summoned up Hitler the other day. Played Pictionary with him. He was a right laugh. Did a shitty on him. Sat through an entire season of The Big Bang Theory. At the climax of a threesome I felched the cum out of a guy's ass. It was really hot. I don't find it disgusting at all. But a lot of other people might. So there's that. Was absolutely hammered at a party and decided I needed to take a dump. There was a passed out girl in the bathroom but I locked the door and got down to business. When I finished unloading this dense chocolate Santa I noticed there was no toilet paper. I just thought FCK it and wiped my ass on the passed out girl's t-shirt before joining the party. You sound like a f-king douchebag. You did her a favor. No one is going to pay her with shitty on her. Good job. My friend threatened to bash my head with a flashlight if I didn't smell his cum. He used to jerk off around me just for fun. This was in middle school. Edit. He's actually a really great guy now. Still friends with him. He was just really crazy back in schoolers and for the record, I don't think he was actually going to bash my head. For fun. A monkey stole my hard-boiled egg. I proceeded to grab the monkey's cheeks and squeeze till it dropped on the floor. I ate it. Then I swear Chris Rock saved me from certain death. When I moved into my new place about 5-6 years ago, I forgot to turn the utilities on in the new house. So I went to take a shitty. Like a great chocolate basilisk of a shitty, not realizing the water wasn't on yet. So obviously I went into panic mode when the water in the bowl didn't flush. And eventually came to a realization that I would have to fish this f-king Godzilla turd out of the toilet and throw it outside. I took a deep breath. Plunged my hand into the fecal water and grabbed the turd. It was surprisingly dense. Which threw me off guard, but I managed to chuck it out the bathroom window. I haven't experienced that level of regret on the toilet since. And I hope I never have to. Edit. For everyone telling me the toilet would have flushed. To pour a gallon of water down it. Etc. I later discovered the chain from the flush to the flapper was broken. And my fight or flight response kicked in big time. I chose flight. Less mess. I had a bit of a crazy night out in my first year of university and went a bit too heavily on the drink. Got back to my dorm room and proceeded to vomit all over my shower. My drunken self decided that the way to deal with this would be to run the shower for a while. So I put it on and lie on my bed for a while. I fell asleep and awoke to an absolutely horrible smell. So I walk into the bathroom. Still completely smashed at this point. To find that the bathroom is completely flooded with my spew and hot water. I vomit instantly. I closed the door and tried to make a plan. Eventually I grew some balls, waded my way through to the shower and turned it off. At this point I'd had enough. I used a towel to clean myself up. Covered myself in deodorant and crashed out in our kitchen. Went back the next day with 3 towels and mopped everything up. I've mostly blocked that part out. Water sports. It not only feels gross, but it also feels demeaning. But my boyfriend had a phase. And I was willing. Edit. Because it has to be said. Arts mom. Till. I took a poop at my boyfriend's father's house. The toilet wouldn't flush and I freaked a little. Being a 17-year-old girl, you can imagine how embarrassed I would feel to tell anyone. I had the wonderful idea of scooping it out with a McDonald's cup and throwing it outside. I sneakily did so and felt so much relief when I got away with it. A couple hours later, I hear the door open. Shortly after, his stepmom yells, "What the FCK?" Apparently, the dogs found my poo and all 3 of them had rolled all over it. They never knew it was mine but knew it was human poop. Years later, we were all drinking and they brought it up. They couldn't believe that someone would poop in their yard in such an upscale neighborhood. I excused myself and went outside to smoke. I couldn't stop laughing.